We are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I've got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Jeremy. It's been a busy week, but I'm excited to get rolling and talk all things Xbox, man. How about you?
It's been a good week over here. Well, for me personally, I'm not going to talk about what's been going on in the country because that's just, that's a mess. But outside of that, gaming has been good. And as people know, we didn't have a show last week. Logan told me he couldn't do the show, which is good for me because I was actually really sick last week, so kind of worked out for everyone. Before we get into all the gaming topics and before we get into what we've even been playing, I want to talk quickly for about a minute about a film I saw recently at the cinema. I'm not going to spoil anything about this film, and it's called Twisters. If people are in the mood for a jam-packed summer blockbuster that harkens back to the 90s, that's that film. I know this is an Xbox show and a gaming show, but I just wanted to talk about Twisters quickly because it is very much a 90s, in a good way, 90s action film, a disaster film, and it was fantastic. It's a shame it kind of failed at the box office because, these studios don't know how to promote their own films. They don't know how to actually, keep movies at the cinema for more than 2 weeks now. It's a shame they keep doing that. But Logan, did you see that yet? Because I know you were looking forward to that.
I haven't yet. I was gonna go see it this week or next. I love the original one,
Yeah.
and obviously being from Oklahoma, I have an intrinsic desire to need to see this film. So I'm excited to see it, and I know it made a profit, but yeah, it seems like these theaters, like, they're just nuts now, like the publishers, because they're like they put them in, and it's like within a couple months or even like maybe 4 weeks, like they'll just yank a movie even if it's doing well
Yeah.
and has some staying power. I remember growing up, um when we would have been kids, it was like some of those movies were in theaters forever. You're like,
Yeah.
dadgum, rent must be cheap. This thing has been here for like 6 months. But now it's just like 2 weeks and done.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but I just want to get it out there because if it's leaving the cinema soon, I want more people to see it. Because honestly, I love the original. Uh, you know, uh, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, great cast back then. But this cast, they're fantastic. Honestly, I think it might be as good as the original. It does things different. The action, the tornadoes in this film are absolutely crazy, and I just want more people to see it because it's crazy. And for, as a UK person, a Brit, it's kind of cool seeing that kind of weather. We don't have tornadoes over here. The only thing we have is rain and like a really angry squirrel up the street. So it's a bit different. But that's enough of that. And before we continue, I really hope people stop spoiling DeadPool. Like, just stop it. Stop posting clips. Stop posting screenshots. Like, let people watch films before they, get spoiled. It's ridiculous. I wasn't going to mention this, but it's absolutely insufferable. Like, people aren't even posting, hashtag spoiler. Like, people are just posting clips from inside the cinema, which is illegal, by the way. And I can't stand it. I've told Logan this before, and I don't think I've mentioned this on the channel. I don't watch movie trailers anymore. I don't watch them at all. I think movie trailers give too much away, so I went into Top Gun Maverick without seeing the trailer. The Batman, without seeing the trailer. I saw about 3 seconds of the Avatar Way of Water trailer, and then that was it. I had enough. Dune Part 2. I didn't see the trailer for that. I'm absolutely fed up with movie trailers spoiling stuff, so I don't watch movie trailers. And then I did that for Wolverine and Deadpool, thinking this is going to be a great experience. And what happened? The cinema's fully booked, every single showing for the next week, and everyone online feels the need to spoil the hell out of that film. The cameos, the set pieces, the dialogue, the everything, what the suits look like. And it's absolutely frustrating that people are just like okay with spoiling things openly, and it really annoys me. It really annoys me. But that's enough movie talk. Maybe we'll rant about more of that later after we get through the game topics. But Logan, have you been playing anything interesting this week?
I haven't been gaming too much lately. I've had a lot going on, but for the gaming I have been doing, I've been wrapping up Octopath Traveler. I'm in the stage where a lot of JRPGs get grindy after a while in bits, and I'm at that end game stage where I'm trying to get all my lower level characters up to snuff for like the end game boss rush and then like the ultimate big bad. So I've been doing that, and then my favorite chill game, Power Wash Simulator, came out with two new expansions within the last month, and one like yesterday. So there's now a cruise ship that you can wash on like the party deck, and then like a fire department plane that dumps water and tree rescue type stuff, and then there's an aquarium and a research sub added to it. So all in all, doing pretty good, man. How about you? How's your gaming palette?
A bunch of stuff. Actually, before we get into what I've been playing, we have the first super chat of the day by Nick W. Thank you very much for the $5. He says, "I haven't been to the movies in years. Going to wait until Deadpool is available for streaming." And honestly, I can't blame you. The the At the minute the cinemas are packed, so like over here specifically, it's really hard to go and see it. But even then, like if you live in a busier city or a busier town, like cinemas can be a bit annoying. Thankfully, like for me, Durham City hasn't had a cinema for 20 years, and then one opened up just before the pandemic started. So I'm
A
surprised.
bad time.
Yeah, literally opened up a few months before the pandemic started. I'm actually surprised it's still here. And it's a lovely cinema. You all have these like recliners with electronic like footrests. You all have a table. You can even buy champagne if you want. It's overpriced champagne, but it's a very nice cinema. And it's more of a novelty for me to go to the cinema now. I've been to the cinema this year 9 times. I love the cinema. I love the cinema experience. Thankfully, I live somewhere where people seem to be respectful and not annoying and all that stuff. But I completely respect people not wanting to go out and see stuff day one, because again, this is the movie industry's fault. They used to make us wait 6 months, a year before a film would come out on DVD or Blu-ray or VHS, and now it's like, hey, you didn't see that film at the cinema 2 weeks ago. Don't worry, it's coming out in digital in 3 days, and it's happening all over, like all over the place. I wasn't able to see Godzilla X Kong at the cinema because the cinema was too full. All I had to do was wait 2 weeks. So it's like, I completely get it. The cinema is more of an experience thing. You don't really need to go these days. I think back in the day it was more required. Like if you wanted to see that film, then you had to see it at the cinema. Otherwise, you'd have to wait a year. So like, I completely get
Oh
that.
yeah, those box tank TVs
Yeah.
that weighed like 100 pounds, and like the really janky audio equipment you'd have to use to try to boost them. Yeah, it was a way different home experience than.
Yeah, and like back then you had Blockbuster as well, and the movie industry. By the way, movie industry. There seems to be a very movie industry heavy short today, but the movie industry didn't used to just make money off the cinema. They used to make a lot of money off Blockbuster, DVD, Blu-ray, and VHS sales. Now they kind of like they really banking off the cinema day one, the first week, and digital releases day one. That's why you get digital releases in, let's say, April, and the disc comes like 2 months later. I could do a whole 5-hour podcast about why the movie industry is in the tank, but it's many reasons. They aren't helping themselves. But thank you for the $5, Nick W. May as well just wait for it, especially if it's busy in your area, But yeah, when it comes to the games I've been playing, Fallout 4, I love this game. I really do. It's phenomenal. And the funny thing is, a lot of people have been going crazy over Fallout since the TV show came out. Well, for me, it's like I have this new Fallout game, It's called Fallout 4. And the amount of hate I'm getting online for it's like people telling me that New Vegas is better. I mean, good on them. And
Yeah, they do that.
yeah, and by the way, all these people that say that, they assume I've never played New Vegas. Like I did play New Vegas. I'm playing Fallout 4 now, and I'm loving Fallout 4. I think it's an incredible game. I have continued with the main story. Again, it's not as good as 3. like someone stole your kid. You have to go find Kellogg. You go find Kellogg. That's where I'm up to in the main story. It's nowhere near as good as 3. Like 3, that main story is just brilliant. But outside of that, been playing a bit of Atlas Fallen. Now that game has got a big patch today. I think it was today anyway. So I haven't played post-patch, and basically the best way I can describe it is it's an open-world action RPG set in a desert-like environment, but it has Devil May Cry style combat. Very hard to explain, but it's had a massive.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's had a massive overhaul today with the new update. So the main character is now voiced by Ben Starr, who did the lead voice for Final Fantasy 16. It also has a new difficulty mode. It has new game plus. It has new enemies. One of my main problems with the game was the lack of enemy types. Well, they fixed it. So if people are in the mood for a brand new sort of action RPG, I highly recommend it. Unfortunately for me, I have this problem with difficulty spikes, and there's these sort of arenas in the game that just pop up out of nowhere, and you're forced to fight 5 bosses in a row. That's not good for me. Let's just call it a skill issue. I'm not that good at the combat to get through those scenarios, but maybe now with the new update, I can get through them. But it's a really cool game. For an action RPG to have the movement and combat be the best thing in the game, right? I got it day one. The way you get around in the environment in Atlas Fallen, you actually surf on the sand. It's really cool. It came out last year. It's another Focus Entertainment game, and I will always sing the praises of Focus Entertainment. They are, in my opinion, the best third-party publisher. They put out interesting.
I'm a big stan as well. They're very, very good.
Yeah, they put out interesting games every single year, and they always really support their games. They always get either free patches shortly after launch, or a massive amount of content just after. Atlas Fallen, that new patch today includes a brand new region, for free. So it just goes to show the developers actually care about those games. I just hope people give it a chance, because I think it's one of those things that people will actually like the universe they have in that game. It's very unique. There's nothing else really like that. I just saw a comment in chat. Is this pre-recorded? No, this is a live podcast. You're welcome. And the other game I've been playing, and this is actually the review segment of the show. So I was provided a free review copy by Konami and Keymailer.co for Cygni All Stars Blazing. Now, if people are old school fans of games like shoot 'em ups, it's basically one of them. It's using all the latest Unreal Engine features, or at least a lot of them, and it is possibly the most beautiful, best looking shoot 'em up I've ever played in my entire life. It is crazy. It has cinematic cutscenes. It is brutally difficult. You'll fight literally hundreds of enemies within seconds. You fight massive bosses. There's parts of your ship which you can upgrade over time. It's very much an arcade-style shooter that harkens back to the 90s and 80s when it comes to shoot-em-ups. So think of the shoot-em-ups you had back on the Super Nintendo, brought to modern age, with sort of 2.5D graphics, which is on screen right now. It is absolutely crazy. Crazy. Konami, they have something really cool here. But again, it's possibly the most difficult game I've ever played in my entire life. It is. If you want a 90s difficult game, a really brutally hard game, this is one of them. It will punish you. You have to be careful with how you move your ship. You can allocate your power between shields and missiles. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed. I'm not gonna lie. But if you like 90s style shoot 'em ups, I highly recommend it. It came out on Xbox Series X and S today. So if people are interested in that, pick it up. I will be returning to this review next week when I finish the whole game. Because they gave me the code the last minute, so I have to split the review over 2 weeks. Anyway, very cool game. We'll get back to that game next week. So let's get into all the topics because we actually have a lot this week. And yeah, I wasn't going to bring this up. I want to talk about Like a Dragon, or should I say Yakuza. Again, more entertainment. So Yakuza, the TV show, had its first trailer. And it's an Amazon show. And it looks amazing. You know, a lot of these studios now are making games based on, video game IP. Some of them being good, some of them being bad. This looks fantastic. Like, Logan, did you see the trailer for the Yakuza show?
I have not, but hearing it's from Amazon already makes me a firm believer in it, so I will check it out.
Yeah, it looks really good. I think the whole thing is going to be in Japanese. That's just the kind of vibe I got, which doesn't bother me. I mean, it's set in Japan. It very looks like it's set in the city, Eugensho, I think it's called. It looks great. I think, from Fallout, what people notice, like, hey, they stick to the source material, they know what they're doing, and that's what people want, We've seen what happened in the past when we get certain adaptations of things, like The Witcher. If you stray away from the source material, people don't care anymore. Well, it looks like they're actually sticking to it. It doesn't look as goofy as Yakuza can be, because Yakuza can be very goofy at times, but it looks very good. I love the fact that these video game franchises actually get more respect than they used to, because we've had some bad video game adaptations. Like, I'm sure a lot of people remember the Mortal Kombat sequel, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. That was bad. That was historically bad. Possibly the worst video game movie of all time. Like, historically bad. But yeah, it looks good. I think people are going to enjoy it when it comes out. I think it's this October on Amazon. So we'll get all the bad stuff out of the way quickly. And it seems like every single week we've had a massive amount of layoffs in the industry. This has been going on for about a year now, unfortunately. And this week's no different. So here we go. So Game Informer shut down. This is sad, there aren't many big gaming media outlets left out in the wild. IGN own a bunch of them now, which is unfortunate. But Game Informer, they've been like a massive media outlet for a long time in the US. They have these really great magazine covers. They've had exclusive rights to a bunch of games that have been announced in the past. Recently, they had the exclusive coverage for Dragon Age. And this has been going on for years. And like Logan, I know in the US, Game Informer is pretty big, so this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, this is a massive deal. Like, growing up, Nintendo Power and Game Informer were like my two mainstay gaming magazines and sources of information, pre social media and reliable online connections and sourcing and articles and stuff. It was like these were the premier things, and then Nintendo Power went out a decade or so ago, and then now Game Informer, and it's a huge shame because there are good journalists today, and I believe that, and there are companies that do a good job, but the overall standard and the reliability and the you know the process of writing reviews, like, hey, this might not be my type of game, but it does a good job in all these areas, and this is, if you like this thing, I would recommend this game. Or their deep dives into stuff, their top 10 lists. I used to love those all the time. Like, every month they'd have their top 10 in their magazine of top 10 video game weapons, and the gravity gun from Half-Life 2, or lightsaber from Jedi Outcast, or the Magnum from Halo Combat Evolved. Like, or like the top 10 biggest dorks in games, or the top 10, villains or vehicles. And just, they used to have so much just fun stuff and personality, and the staff was really good, and they knew what they were doing, and they were personable. And it's just a massive bummer they're gone. And not only that they're gone, but like they've basically been like, you know, Dooku and the Jedi archives, like removed from existence. Like their files, their articles, their presence is just poof. It does not exist. Like even their social media, like they had like a they had this cringeworthy AI looking farewell thing,
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
then somebody from Game Informer or a former Game Informer employee, somebody wrote up an actual goodbye thing. And then apparently GameStop or whoever owns the rights to the Twitter and everything else deleted everything. They're like, you know what? Fine. And so they yeeted that out of existence too. So all evidence of them has been expunged. That field has been salted and burned. There is like nothing.
Yeah, it's a shame. And like you said, like everything's been nuked. I've looked at their website. It's basically just a little goodbye message and a few pictures of their magazines. Like you would think like something like that would be archived where you could go back and read all the articles. Apparently not. So I don't know why this keeps happening. Like that kind of stuff. It's gaming history at that point. So it should be something that's archived. You know, if you want to find a Game Informer thing now, you have to go through a second party app or website. It's a shame. The whole industry's been a mess, and I think if some people might wonder like the game industry makes so much money and there's so many people that pay attention to these video games. Why on earth does everyone keep losing their jobs? And that's because during the pandemic, all these gaming companies they staffed up big time because everyone was stuck at home buying video games, reading about video games. So like journalists were like getting a lot of views on games, and video games were selling more because people were stuck in the house, and they staffed up because of that. And now that we're kind of out of it, video games that aren't selling like they used to. I think the price of video games also kind of went towards that, and also I think a lot of less people are paying attention to print media or traditional gaming media now. People don't trust them, whether they're a good website or a bad website. People just don't trust a lot of traditional gaming media outlets. IGN, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And Game Informer, they always had some great articles, like you said, their lists. They always had great interviews every single month when it comes to like brand new AAA game releases. But yeah, that's a shame. And when it comes to like layoffs, this has been going on for a while. Even this past week, outside of Game Informer, Intel is about to lay off almost 18,000 people.
That's a town. That's outrageous.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like Intel's had like a colossal screw up over the past week. A bunch of the chips aren't working. They had a massive stock fall. Crazy. Even the CEO of Intel stopped tweeting Bible quotes. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not normal for Intel. Bungie layoffs. That's kind of one of the big ones, and a lot of people from Bungie have now been moved over to different studios over at Sony. Bungie, they started basically with Microsoft, if you think about it. It looks like Destiny might be done as a franchise, which is shocking.
They're not the only ones.
Yeah, the staff is shocked. They are banking on Marathon. Marathon's also going to be coming to Xbox, which is going to be a PvP extraction shooter. I think it's very risky to put all their money in that one game. Destiny is a proven franchise. People love that franchise. I kind of dipped out after the first one just because I don't really play video games like that anymore. The whole, I call it appointment gaming. These games that you have to constantly revisit and play every single day, week, month, whatever. That's just not for me. I like, I genre hop, I game hop a lot. But like Destiny's beloved by millions, and for them to just drop that intellectual property like that, they had multiple spin-offs in the works, which have now been cancelled. It doesn't look like Destiny 3 is actually going to be happening. It's a big deal, you know. I think one of the biggest flaws for Destiny is that, and I don't know if anyone listening noticed this, but there's not exactly a good jumping in point for new players. They keep sunsetting content, so like if you play the game now, you are thrown into the deep end with a cutscene that doesn't make any sense, and it isn't the start of the game that people had back in 2017. Now it's just a mess, and you have to spend over $100 to get all the content you want to play Destiny 2 proper. What a mess. And I made a post about this the other day about how when Bungie was underneath Microsoft, people blamed Microsoft. When Bungie was underneath Activision, people blamed Activision. And I pointed out this the other day. Like, now people aren't blaming Sony. And people took that as I was blaming Sony. I think a lot of gamers just don't have enough brain cells to like comprehend anything. Like Bungie has clearly had bad management for decades now. They've always had issues. There was. By the way, can people hear me properly? Logan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Destiny's had a bunch of issues over the years, and ODST, Halo Reach had a bunch of issues. Thankfully, they got those games out and they worked fine. Destiny 1 had all these development issues where they couldn't get content out on time. The hardware and the software they were using weren't really that good, but the content they did get out, people loved. You have the CEO of Bungie buying $2.3 million worth of classic cars and then showing it off to staff a week before they get fired. What an absolute cluster. Like, I'm speechless. Like, how can you do that to your own staff? That's heartless. And one of the worst things is that the CEO actually deactivated his Twitter. He privated everything, shall I say. And coward. Absolute coward. He did actually make his account public again, but he hasn't replied to anyone since. And it's just Bungie proving that they are an issue, People thought I was blaming Sony trying to console war. It's like, no. Bungie are clearly, at fault here. The CEO should really step down for what he did, because the staff didn't really find out till that day. It's weird. It's weird, and I think, look, I hate the fact that we have to talk about the layoffs every single week, but the gaming industry is in a weird place right now. Some people think there's going to be another crash. I personally do think there's going to be some sort of game crash in the next 18 months. But I hope things get better. And I think things can get better, but I just think too many developers are trying to lean in the whole live service element of games. Too many developers are pushing, like $70. I think $70 has a huge... it's a huge problem for the industry. People aren't buying games day one. They'd rather wait for sales. And personally, I don't think video games are worth $70. It doesn't matter which video game it is. $70 for a video game is way too much. Then you have £70, and you have Australia where sometimes games cost like $120. It's way too much. People aren't... Like, Logan, can you remember back in the 360 generation where like every game was basically a success?
Yeah, it was a golden era. I mean, we have to go back. It's just like even some of the lower key indie games, or it was a golden age of AA games as well. It's like I've never even heard of this studio, and I check out a game. I'm like, hey, this is actually pretty fun, and they're not ripping me off with the price. It was just an era of exploration and pure fun.
Yeah, like the indie boom happened, or you had all these interesting games selling for like £15 or $20, and like now, everything's just overpriced. People just don't have the money for that anymore, and I can't blame them. I really can't. I think the AAA game industry, there's going to be a crash in the next 18 months, and we will still have stuff to play. There'll still be AAA releases, but I think, there's going to be a lot less of them until like something changes. Development tools need to, I don't know, change. Developers maybe need to embrace AI rather than being scared of it. Yeah, AI in the game industry is sort of like they've got cooties or something. It's like a scary term. They'll get that sorted eventually, but I don't know. I think it's just the push of so many live service games and too many people like let's take me for instance, right? I do not put a single penny into live service games. So when a brand new game's announced and it's a live service, like I'm instantly not going to play it because I don't play those types of games. And if they come out with a single player game and it's not a live service title, chances are I'm going to buy it. But the demographic these people keep making games for, I don't think exists. Like people that already play COD, they play in COD. They don't care about anything else. People that play Destiny, whatever shape it's in, people are going to play Destiny. People are trying to chase this live service 10-year plan thing, and it doesn't work ever. And you have EA, they now lean more into single player games. You have Sony now, which were very strong for single player games for over a decade. Now they want to do more live service stuff. Ubisoft is putting more live service elements in their games. And it's a shame. I think, developers need to actually learn from the mistakes. It's the same things like Hollywood keeps making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and they're not fixing the problem. It's the same with the game industry. They're not fixing the actual problem, and I think game price is one of them because, $70 games, that's not helping. Anyway, we'll move on. Enough of that stuff. So Quidditch. Very niche thing. Hogwarts Legacy released last year. It was the best-selling game of the year, which was very good. And I highly recommend people play that. But people wonder, where the hell is Quidditch? Why is Quidditch not in the game? And people suspected that it wasn't put in the game because Warner Brothers Games wanted to sell it off as a separate thing. Do we know if that's a fact? Not really. However, there's a new Quidditch game coming out in September, and they go with a business model I didn't think, right? I expected this was going to be a free-to-play game with a battle pass, because that would kind of make sense with all the cosmetics that you could have with your character and on your broom and all this stuff. It turns out it's not anything like that. It's going to be, I think, £22. It has a single-player campaign, and it has a PvP mode where it's 3v3. You can play as your own created character, or you can play as a bunch of characters from the Harry Potter universe. And it's not going to be a traditional live service game with microtransactions. You buy the game once and that's that. My jaw was on the floor when I found that out because it seemed like such a obvious live service model game. But no, Quidditch, they're going to sell it once and be done with it. I kind of like that, though, because that means no microtransactions. Like, Logan, what do you think of that? Because it kind of seemed like everyone just assumed it was going to be a live service, free to play. But £22, I think it's going to be $29, and that's it.
Yeah, that's great news. Like you were saying, like I would have assumed this was going to be free to play or have kind of a base price, and then they just milk that sucker dry with all kinds of expansions and seasons and just try to get every little penny they can out of it. But the fact that it just is a normal game and comes with a single player campaign and then multiplayer as well, that's very good news.
Yeah, because I look, I don't like live service games at all. However, I love Harry Potter, and the idea of a Quidditch multiplayer game, that interests me. But yeah, not free to play, 3v3 PvP in a single player campaign. You get to play through all the different challenge cups. I think it's going to get an audience. I've seen some people suggest that it's going to fail. I don't think people realize how big the Harry Potter brand is Like, people were buying Xboxes and PlayStations just to play Hogwarts Legacy. People that didn't play video games before. So I think the game's going to be perfectly fine. And it being a more budget game, like, I think this is going to be a massive Christmas seller. Like, people that don't really play games that much, that but love Harry Potter, they're going to be playing this. Again, 3v3 Quidditch. I think it's going to be popular. But yeah, just wanted to talk about that quickly because the gameplay came out and it looks really good. Now, Logan, there's a certain franchise we talk about a lot on this channel, which I know you haven't played, and that is Legacy of Kain. Now, this is one of my favorite franchises from when I was a kid. I played Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver on PlayStation, the original PlayStation, as a kid, and I loved that game. And, you know, people have been wanting something like we haven't had anything in the Legacy of Kain universe for close to 20 years.
I remember Omen on Xbox, the
Yeah.
original Xbox, I think. That was about it.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. And, you know, the IP went over to Embracer when Crystal Dynamics was bought. And people like me have been port begging endlessly for a classic collection, a remake, remaster. I don't care. Well, it turns out someone messed up because I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. There was a booth with a plaque next to a statue, and it listed Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. The internet went ablaze because we've been waiting a long time for something to be done in this franchise. You know, there was a game being made in 2012. It looked really cool. It got cancelled, and apparently it was like 90% finished. But this looks really good. It's just a sign. I know that. But the fact that someone messed up, the game must be more far along than people think. Because you wouldn't just have that sign ready if it was for nothing. Right? Because that just seems pointless. Like, Logan, I know you didn't play them back in the day, but what's your thought on this remaster clearly being leaked at a San Diego Comic-Con?
I'm very excited. It was a franchise I never played, but it's one I've always wanted to play. And, you know, a remaster or remake collection or whatever for modern console with Xbox Series X, that'd be a day one for me. I've always heard great things. It looks fun. I know it has great writing and gameplay as well. So absolutely stoked for that. And as far as it being a San Diego, Comic Con or whatever leak, like that honestly isn't. I mean, that might be kind of newish for people that are mainly just in the gaming sphere of entertainment. But like, if you're big into Godzilla or Star Wars or some of these other mega monolith franchises, like toy leaks all the time happen that spoil movies or games or shows or other things that are coming. Like, I remember that's how people found out Mecha Godzilla was in Godzilla versus Kong because of a toy leak. And that was a huge deal, obviously, and a major plot point. And like that's how Star Wars movies growing up, a lot of people would find out about some background characters or some maybe plot details from some wording on a toy or whatever. So yeah, somebody royally messed up there.
Yeah, so it looks like it's coming, and considering Gamescom is right around the corner, I'm like 99% sure it's going to be on the Jeff Keighley, opening night live, which is a thing, because
That seems a good bet, I'd say.
yeah, and if it's done by Aspire, which I have a feeling it will be, I have a lot of confidence in it. I've talked about this on the show before. Like, they colossally messed up the Battlefront collection, like hilariously. Hit detection wasn't working in the PvP like game mode. Like, are you joking? However, their single player games tend to be pretty good. They recently came out with Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which has finally made its way to Xbox after 21 years, I think, or 20 years. I bought it, by the way. It's great. It has better visuals, it has quality of life improvements. It is still a hard as nails game. So if difficulty bothers people, Keep that in mind. But they did a great job with it. And they also did the Tomb Raider games earlier this year. So they clearly can remaster an old game. So, and with it being 2 games, like that game was a hell ahead of its time. It had instant game switching, which if that feature was in a game now, people would be touting the power of the SSD, you know, and that was doing that back then on an original PlayStation. Like, crazy what they were doing back then, but hey, fun games. It looks like they're coming, and that's that. Again, it's probably going to be announced on the 20th or on the 21st. You know what? Let's talk about the Xbox 360 store closure. We didn't have a show last week. It's sad. Like, Logan, have you turned on your 360 since the store closed?
I have not. I've been waiting for the right time to when I'm in the mood for a franchise or a game that isn't BC to play it.
Yeah, so the dashboard has completely changed. And it's kind of weird because there's no ads there. There's no, like, flashcards for, like, games that are just on the store. Because if you went to the store about a week and a half ago, it would just say, Black Ops 2 just on the store and a few games on sale, and the occasional advertisement for, movie apps. All that stuff's gutted now. So you literally have a choice between the game in the disc tray, your game library and settings and friends list. It's bare bones as anything now because there's no store. However, it runs super fast now because it doesn't have to load any of that like secondary information. It's a shame they shut the store down after 19 years. I bought I think £70 worth of games. It is crazy that they actually had a digital storefront working for 19 years. The Xbox 360. I mean, it had its ups and downs, but like my 360, I think it was the Slim which came out in 2009 or 2010. Like, it's still working. I'm actually shocked by how quiet this 360 is. Shocked. And it's just weird to see because like I thought Microsoft would have tried to get it to 20 years. Some people did let me know. I don't know how true this is. Apparently, Xbox 360s offline. Can't get past the date 2025, December 31st, 2025. So some people theorize that maybe it has something to do with that. Why they shut down the store? I'm not entirely sure because I can't imagine the upkeep and cost of running the 360 servers being that much. But hey, just want to give people some advice because I've seen some people have issues that if you want to find your download history or your purchase history on a 360, do not click purchase history on your 360. You want to click download history, and that will include everything you've ever purchased when it comes to a 360 or original Xbox game. So if you claim a game on your Xbox One or Series console, it will show up in your download history on an Xbox 360. So it's how I figured this out. Other people have had these problems. So if you bought a bunch of games like me and you're worried that you can't find your games, it's under downloads, game downloads. Anyway, just want to talk about that. Like, Logan, did you buy anything interesting out of all those 360 games?
Yeah, I went hog wild on that last sale. I bought let's see, I bought Singularity, I bought Spyro, You're the Dragon, Gun, which was like Red Dead Redemption before Red Dead, and then I bought, let's see, that Alien Rage game you had mentioned. Like, I bought several of the games from your video. Great video, by the way.
Thanks.
And Dark Messiah and its expansion. And it's crazy. That was made by Kain. And how that never made BC, I do not know. So yeah, I bought that one. I bought Dark Star, that kind of sci-fi RPG.
Yeah.
Like I said, I bought several. I kind of spark noted your video.
Yeah.
And I bought Homefront because, I mean, shoot, 50 cents for a really cool dystopian, FPS campaign. You can't go wrong with that. Um, and then I took a flyer on a few other games because they were just dirt cheap. Like, because I'm like, well, that doesn't look too bad. You know, it's like $1. Okay, yeah, I'll take a chance on it. I know they added 3 games right before the sale ended, like all from this one studio who did Salt and Sanctuary. Like this Ninja Washer thing and like 2 other games that are like these really crazy hardcore side scroller action games. I added those. Let's see. Um Basically the Activision games that were made for cheap at the end, and then Alien Rage, Dark Messiah, and a few others. How about you? What all did you get in your Last Supper of 360?
Yeah, I kind of went nuts, and you mentioned that the list I made. A lot of people sent me messages saying they bought the games on that list. So I think Microsoft and like whatever third parties involved made a lot of money off that video. So hey, good on them. But yeah, I bought quite a lot of games. I bought a Sniper Ghost Warrior, the first one. That was 57 pence. Like, like games that cheap. Like I would love to know how much money, how many copies of these games sold, because people were just like posting like clips and like screenshots of like all the games they bought. Anyway, I bought Sniper Ghost Warrior for 57 pence, Enemy Fund for 83 pence, Warhammer 40k Space Marine for 14.99. And now that I own that digitally, I can leave my sealed copy sealed. So that's nice. Star Wars: The Clone Wars Republic Heroes for 14.99. That is the only Star Wars game that isn't backwards compatible for some reason.
Obi-Wan
Yeah,
as well.
I should say only Xbox 360 game that isn't a Kinect game. Don't know why. It seems weird. Anyway, got the Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena for 11.99. Remember Me cost £1.49. Homefront cost
Oh, I
40.
got that one too.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
Homefront for 44 pence. Singularity for 9.99. Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate for 3.99. Alien Rage for 83 pence. Alone in the Dark for 2.99. Rise of the Tomb Raider for 7.99. I love Rise of the Tomb Raider. The 360 version, I'm not even kidding, is a technical achievement. I don't know how they got that game running on a 360. The environments look as good as the Xbox One version. It ran solid 30 for me. So, like, Technical Wizards, whatever team made that game. But yeah, that was $7.99, and I got Dark Star 1 for $1.79. And I didn't even buy every single game I wanted. So, like, there was, like, so many games. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, cost $3.99. I found out about that after the store closed, but yeah, it's a shame. I am shocked, though, how good some of these games still look. So, like, I fired up Escape from Butcher Bay, which comes with the Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena, and this is a remaster of an OG Xbox game on an Xbox 360, and it still looks good. And I've been having these realizations like recently that like I think people just concern themselves over game graphics too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm playing these 360 games on a 360, and I'm never once thinking, the graphics are bad. These games genuinely look good still. Could they do with some anti-aliasing? Yes. But this is a 360. This is a 2005 piece of hardware running these games, and that still look good. But hey, just want to talk about it quickly because the 360 is amazing. Like, what a library of games. Back then we were getting multiple like sequels a generation. We had multiple GTAs a generation. And I think that was the generation where we had Call of Duty without microtransactions. Like, it sounds like an alien concept because if you open up Call of Duty now, there's a whole store where you can buy skins. You have Homelander and Rick Grimes. Like, I don't
It
understand it.
makes no sense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, man. Like modern gaming, I will never complain enough about modern gaming. I want to go back to 2009 or something with my 360. It was a better time. Anyway, we'll move on. Just wanted to talk about that quickly because the 360, it's a hell of a console. I don't care who says. Okay, where we are? Oh, now Logan, you brought this up because it's kind of a big story and not many people are talking about it, and that's Half-Life 3. So what's going on with that? People are going nuts online.
Yeah, first off, this is actually not a joke. I know I know everybody whenever they see Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 3 confirmed or something, they think it's an April Fool's post or something cuz you and me and people our age have been asking for a decade plus for this game or episode 3 or whatever. But there has been some developments in the very recent past that seem to indicate something big is coming with the Half Life franchise. And, like, for example, there's this voice actress, I can't remember which one, um, who on their professional site and their profiles and everything listed a project that they're currently working on and voicing for, and the company was Valve, and the code name was White Sands. White Sands is a region in New Mexico where, guess what? Black Mesa is located. And so, unless this is a Half Life Alyx non VR version, which I mean, it could be possible. I mean, I'd play it, but unless it's that, it certainly seems to indicate something Half Life is happening. Whether it's a full on remake that's not just a quote Black Mesa from people outside of Valve or what, but it feels right. They never said they didn't want to make a Half Life 3. They had said for a long time that they were waiting for either big technological leaps or inspiration, something to hit them. And maybe, just maybe, in the year of our Lord 2024, Gabe and the powers that be at Valve have finally gotten tired of their Steam billions and just rolling around on it, have decided to be creative again and make Half Life 3. But something is happening with it, and it is crazy how under the radar it is. It's like the Half Life fan communities and stuff are going nuts, but I haven't seen very many big outlets talking about it. And you would think Half Life 3 is like one of the holy grail games out there. Like, it would be like if Star Wars 1313 actually happened, or was resurrected, or StarCraft Ghosts. Like, it is a huge deal.
Yeah, like not many people are talking about it. That is a bit weird, but I think people have been led over astray too many times. You know, like how many times have we heard, oh, Half-Life 3 might be in development, and we just want it to happen. Like, Half-Life 2 was way ahead of its time. You can play it now on series consoles via backwards compatibility in the orange box. Great version of that game. And it's 4K also. And like the amount of different things you can interact with in the environment, like it had so many different like physics puzzles. Like you had to get out of a room at some point, and there was some planks of wood, but you had to like fire these sort of saw blades at them to like get through the door. It was really ahead of its time, you know. And I think people are just ready for like that next thing. But I will say this: I don't know how a Half-Life 3 can possibly live up to people's expectations. I think it's like the GTA 6 thing. Like, some people think GTA 6 is going to be this revolutionary game that's going to blow people's minds. And I honestly think people will be a bit disappointed when they find out it's just GTA 5 but with prettier graphics. You know?
It's GTA Florida.
Yeah, GTA Florida. There's going to be alligators and all that stuff. But, like, it's going to be pretty. No doubt. It's probably going to have some game mechanics from Red Dead Redemption 2. But I don't think it's going to be this whole, like, your mind's eye is awakened sort of moment with gaming. You know, I I,
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a good game. People have put it on a pedestal so much, it can't possibly live up to those expectations. Now, will I get GTA 6? Obviously, I'm not stupid. Will I get Half-Life 3? Like, if Half-Life 3 is announced tomorrow and all we see is a poster and a release date, do you know how many people are going to buy that game just off knowing it exists? I would.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, I would. They could simply put a picture of an orange crowbar in a 3 or something and sell millions of copies immediately.
Yeah, like I think it's one of those games where people just do not care. Same with GTA. Like, let's be honest. If we never seen GTA 6 and they just announced it tomorrow with a release date, people would buy it. I don't even think it would even sell any less copies. People just want more, and people have been like really wanting Half-Life 3 or Half-Life Episode 3 since 2007 when Episode 2 came out. Like, it's been a long time coming, and I think that if it is announced, it's here's the thing, like Valve has this like close relationship with Jeff Keighley, so it's like, would that be a Gamescom thing, or is it that big? It just gets announced on a random day by Valve themselves.
They could drop that on a Tuesday night at like 10:30 p.m. and it would blow up the internet.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, like we're obviously going to see some big games at the, Jeff Keighley Gamescom thing, but like you said, like Half-Life, that's too big. That's big enough. They could do their own thing. Like GTA, we'll never see GTA at a game showcase. Why would we? Rockstar, they know what they're doing. Same with Valve. Like Valve basically prints money, and I think a lot of people want them to get back into game development because they consistently made great games. Portal 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, Portal 2 is hilarious. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, great zombie games, and we just want more. There is a new Valve game coming out this year, and it's a PvP hero shooter. Not my cup of tea, but that's probably going to do well anyway because it's a Valve game. But I don't know. I just think people are like, think about it, it's 2024 and people are still thirsty wanting Half-Life 3. And will it happen? I think so. Valve has said in the past that they do see a Half-Life 3 happening at some point. There are modders and indie game developers that went over to work for Valve because of things like Black Mesa on PC. So something's definitely happening over there. I think it's just going to be a matter of when and not an if. If anyone from Valve's listening, please announce it. Like, I don't want to be an old man in whatever year, and then we get an announcement when I'm in my wheelchair. Like, I just don't want that. I want it now, please. Anyway, we'll move on. It looks like something's happening at least with Valve, and whatever it is, I think it'll do well. People just want more Valve games at the end of the day. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? Let's talk about this. So, the JRPG gatekeeping never ends. Actually, before we continue with that, we're about to now end the show. If you're enjoying the show, please like it, share on Twitter, Facebook, whatever you may go. It's really appreciated. If you want to support the channel with super chats, that's also greatly appreciated. It goes towards making the channel better with hardware and all that stuff. But anyway, let's continue with the show. So this past week, there's been a bunch of JRPG gatekeeping in the gaming space on Twitter and on YouTube, and people still have this really negative thing towards Xbox whenever there's a JRPG announced. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D was announced for Xbox about a month ago. I can't wait for it. It's going to be my first, retro style Dragon Quest style game. and I'm looking forward to it. But people are angry. People keep saying people won't buy these games on Xbox, but yet they keep getting announced. Square Enix has Xbox listed as their multi-platform strategy going forward. So clearly something is working. Sega continuously puts JRPGs on Xbox with Persona and the latest Yakuza titles. So Xbox apparently doesn't sell any copies of JRPGs or Japanese games, yet they keep coming over. And you have these detractors on Twitter constantly try and pull people down. If people want a Japanese game to come to Xbox and they post about it on Twitter, all their replies are people saying, why do you want to play these games on an Xbox? Yet these same tools will want to play Call of Duty and Madden on a Japanese console. It's lunacy. It's absolute lunacy. And it's something we keep seeing year after year after year. And it's never ending. You have these RPG fan sites that will not stick up for Xbox fans wanting more games to come over. There was an article by Game Rant recently where they talked about how Xbox fans want JRPGs, which is really good to read. But something's got to give at some point. It just came out today that Square Enix operating net revenue is down, but their mobile division made money basically, which points out that maybe making games multi-platform, such as Final Fantasy, going forward is the correct thing to do. Because let's say Final Fantasy VII Part 3, right? If there's 80 million PlayStation 5s out in the wild by then, there's not going to be 85 million people buying that game. It's going to be a few million. It'll be the same on Xbox. And I just think, times are changing. People are realizing that there are Japanese fans on Xbox. I should say fans of Japanese games on Xbox. Times are changing. More Japanese games have been announced for Xbox over the next year than there have been over the past 10 years. I don't know, Logan, what do you think of this? Because people still seem to get angry about Japanese games coming to Xbox. Square Enix seemingly is including Xbox going forward. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's bizarre. They don't keep the same energy about other stuff, and if Xbox posts stuff that they port beg for Xbox games and all this and this, but then lo and behold, an Xbox fan would like to play a Japanese game on their platform. It's considered blasphemous and treason and everything but what's good in the world, and it's insanity. And it's all these low account, you know either avatar, name, or string of letters and numbers, or I mean there are some big accounts, but most of them are toxic, the ones that are doing this. And it's just there is no good reason why for these games not to come to Xbox. If it doesn't sell as well, it doesn't sell as well. At least it's selling more. And I think they would actually sell well on the platform. I've bought a ton of Japanese games on Xbox, and I know there's a thriving community on the Xbox platform, yourself included. Persona has a really passionate base on the Xbox. Lost Odyssey, the Final Fantasies that have come over, Fatal Frame, obviously Capcom's greatest hits with Resident Evil and all these others. There is a powerful and strong desire for more games from that region of the world and those creators. And the idea of gatekeeping them for quote reasons because Xbox bad, or a non-Japanese system bad, or whatever, that has some real cringy and bad vibes to it, I think.
Yeah, we have another super chat by Nick W for $5. Thank you very much. He says, "I don't understand why they don't want more people playing games." I mean, that's the nail on the head right there.
Exactly.
Like, like Persona and Yakuza are bloody great examples, right? their fan bases got bigger because they opened up to another platform. Like eventually, when Yakuza goes to, let's say, the Switch 2, the fan base is going to get even bigger. And there's these people that really look at Final Fantasy, and it's mainly Final Fantasy in particular, and another franchise called Wise. I think it's pronounced Wise. Wise Origins was the last one on Xbox, but it didn't do well and it wasn't promoted, and it had bad optimization. But like, there's this weird like amount of people that are protecting Final Fantasy off Xbox for some reason. It's like they act like Final Fantasy is a PlayStation IP, and they just don't want more people to play it. It makes no sense, you know. I don't get it. And these same people, by the way, they will port beg like Halo on a Switch or something. It's weird. I just think it just doesn't make any sense, you know. Like I love Final Fantasy, like the last one that came to Xbox, which was Crisis Core Reunion. Like, I adore that game. Like that may be my favorite Final Fantasy game. Not entirely sure, but it was amazing. And I just want more people to play these games. You know, Final Fantasy 13. I will defend Final Fantasy 13 at every opportunity because I love that game. The soundtrack, the characters, the combat. It had very unique combat. I liked the linear structure. It was a great game, you know. And did it do well on Xbox? Apparently, it did do pretty well on. That was the first mainline Final Fantasy game on a 360 on Xbox, and it did pretty well. You know, it was a good game. Had 2 sequels, although they did have their issues. You know, where they had basically the proper ending of 2 as a DLC. That was a weird one. But like, Square Enix has to try. The fan base is just strange, man. Like, when when Final Fantasy 13 was announced for Xbox 360 back in 2008, on the Xbox E3 stage, I'm not even kidding. This page is still available for people to read. NeoGAF were having meltdowns. People were upright saying, like, oh, this is going to be the end of PlayStation, or Square Enix, you know, they've shot themselves in the foot. That's where that meme comes from, by the way, from that NeoGAF page. And it's all because, you know, more people get to play these games. It's backwards. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like I'm a Final Fantasy VII fan ever since I was a little kid, right? Bear in mind, when I was a little kid, that game didn't make any sense, but I liked it, you know. But like, I would love to play that remake on my Xbox, and will it come eventually? I do think so, but the amount of people that just get angry at the concept of these games coming over, maybe it's odd. It's very odd. It doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't impact anyone negatively. I will say this though. I do think there's a subset of PlayStation fanboys that are very entitled. They want everything to just be theirs, that only they can play in their own little special group, because that's just how they are. You know, entitlement over this franchise has been glaringly obvious to me, at least. Things will change, hopefully, soon. You know, Final Fantasy 16 is, I think that released a year ago on PlayStation 5. It'll probably come to Xbox at some point. I know people have did some digging in the files, and apparently it's coming to PC soonish. So who knows? Maybe this will be a Gamescom announcement type thing. And if that does happen, you are going to see a colossal cluster F online of people just losing their minds, just over more people being able to play those games. And it's a shame, because there is a Final Fantasy fan base on Xbox. You know, it would be bigger if they consistently put games on the platform. We didn't even get the Pixel remasters. But do you know what?
I'm still pissed about it.
Yeah, yeah, like the Kindle tablets got the Pixel remasters. Like, you know, the JRPG fandom on you know, Amazon Kindle tablets, if that's a thing. You know, and I love Final Fantasy. It's one of my favorite franchises. You know, Final Fantasy X, that game, I adore that game. Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 13. I liked 15. I know that can be controversial, but I just love the setting. Loved the open world. The combat, took a while to learn, but it was a fun game. Granted, Chapter 13 made me want to jump out of the window face first in front of a moving train, but that's been patched now, thankfully. But yeah, it looks like stuff will change. Square Enix, they like money. Companies like money, and they will make money if they put games on Xbox, which they will. It's just a matter of when. It's not an if. But yeah, Final Fantasy, those games will come. We just don't know when. Next up, okay, Stalker 2 got delayed. I saw a lot of people get angry about this. Now, personally, if a country's been at war, I think them having a delay is kind of understandable. It only moved 2 months. I think that's fine. The game looks fantastic. They're going to have a brand new show at Gamescom. What can I say? I mean, I think the game's going to be fine. They are a trusted developer. They know what they're doing. They're making a game in a space where we don't really see many games like this. Brand new AAA Unreal Engine 5 open world with immersive sim elements. That's the big thing that people don't realize. This is going to have immersive sim elements. It's also got horror elements, which I think people are going to love. And if you've ever played the original Stalker, that thing can be scary. You have these face hugger things running in tall grass that can jump at your face. Not going to lie, can be a bit scary, but this game's going to be amazing. Logan, I know it's not really controversial, but people obviously got angry. Like, it moving to November isn't the biggest deal.
It's such a non-big deal. It's like, for starters, it's only a 2-month delay. And then, also, like, I don't know, maybe this is controversial, but I personally wouldn't have had a problem with them at all pausing development and not even starting it up again until after their conflict is resolved, or whatever. The fact that they're able to even develop a game during all of this stuff they're going through is like miraculous and insane to begin with all that's going on. So to get all hot and bothered and flustered that a game is slightly coming out 2 months later in a country that's dealing with this right now is just, that is, we talk about, peak selfishness. That is just peak selfishness. Like, get over yourself. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's selfish. Like, I don't think people really like. I don't think why people. I don't understand. This is why I'm all over the place today. I don't understand why people get angry about delays. Right? Like, certainly, yeah, you look forward to a game, it gets delayed. It's disappointing. You move on. But have you seen how many games are coming out this year? Like, there's games that are going to get
I
announced this.
can't keep track.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, as someone that makes videos about upcoming games, let me tell you, I'm kind of not looking forward to the next few months because those are going to be hectic, right? I have to make top 20 videos instead of top 10. There's too many games coming. It's one of the reasons why Avowed got moved, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, like, Stalker moving to November isn't a big deal. November is a very safe month at the minute. It's got some big releases, but I think for a game like Stalker, they just want to have more attention for it. That's all. The developer, they're going to have an amazing game, and it's going to get a brand new show at Gamescom. I think people are going to like it. Anyway, you know what? Before we get into all the Avowed stuff, I want to talk about the DeadPool game quickly. So, Deadpool and Wolverine, it's been a huge success at the box office, and it's made a lot of people want more. So there was a Deadpool game that released on Xbox 360 and PS3 in, I think, 2011, 2012, and it got a remaster in 2014 or 15. Anyway, that game got delisted back in 2017, and honestly, it was kind of easy to find in the UK up until a few years ago. I bought a brand new copy in 2018 for £2. Brand new copy. And oh my, I was lucky. Because now people are selling it for £300. it is now one of the most expensive games to buy on an Xbox. I'm sure the PlayStation version is equally as expensive, but a lot of people are going out their way, selling blood diamonds to get this bloody game. And it's a fun game. It's a third person over the shoulder action adventure game with super fast combat. It's a fun game. But people are going nuts over this game. Like, absolutely. Like, Logan, did you get DeadPool back in the day? Do you own it?
I actually did own the remaster for a time. I traded it in on something else after a while, but I kind of wish I had kept it now at this point because, like you said, like the going rate on it is nuts. It's like that 50 cent Blood in the Sand on 360. Like if you see the prices on those, or like that Godzilla PS4 game, like if you're one of the lucky few to have one, those things sell for a ton. Or Rule of Rose on PS2. It's like it's entered this echelon of just psycho behavior pricing. And it also all ties back to these companies can't get their licensing together, or they just don't want to. Like, surely the amount of money it would take to relicense that would pale in comparison to how many copies they would sell if they would just re-upload it. Like, this is a huge missed opportunity. Like, every time a Transformers movie comes out, not being able to sell the Transformer games. Star Wars doesn't have this problem because pretty much every Star Wars game is available.
Yeah.
But like, imagine if you couldn't play any of the Star Wars games or the Lord of the Ring games, or it's just it's insanity. Just another sign that we have to get better about licensing and how we manage these games, because selling a copy of Deadpool from 2017 for $300 because the movie just came out and Activision, Xbox, Disney, whomever just didn't deem it worthy enough or couldn't do it or whatever, make it available again is ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, if anyone from Microsoft is listening, I know that some people over Microsoft have listened to this show. Like, I can't imagine the licensing cost of that would be that much. Like, they're gonna make a crap ton of money off people just that Deadpool fans, and they happen to have a current gen console. Like, they would eat that up. Hell, throw in some 4K upgrades, upsell it. But like, I hate the second-hand market for video games. I don't think I've talked about this before, but like, I only try and buy brand new 360 games because the way discs read, and like, I have an ever-growing catalog of unopened 360 games, and that's the only way I want to buy them. Let me tell you, that market has been basically destroyed over the past month. People that didn't buy 360 games regularly are now going out their way buying everything. My Amazon basket was filled with a bunch of games I was interested in. They are all sold out now. Right? Not even like big games when it came to like licensing such as Deadpool, but like just like simple things. Like, there was a Fallen Skies video game. I had that in my basket, sold out. It was a TV show about an alien invasion, and there was
It was a great show.
yeah, great show, and there was basically a video game on it, and it was an XCOM clone that's sold out now, and it's happening time and time again. The Xbox 360 is probably going to be one of the most expensive consoles to collect for over the next year. Much like how the GameCube is extremely expensive to collect for, and that's happening with the 360 right now. So if people have 360 games or like the Deadpool game for Xbox One, whatever console you have, like, hold on to those games. Do not resell them. Do not become one of those people that buys games just to sell them. I don't like that. I've never liked the second-hand market for video games. Like, Logan, I assume it's the same in the US for 360 games at the minute. Like, absolute mess.
Yeah, it is just ridiculous, the price of games. Like, even games that weren't that big of a deal or that popular or that great or whatever, it's just because the store is gone, the price skyrockets. And then the ones that were a big deal or were already hard to find, they are just like ludicrously expensive. Like, paying console prices for a game because you can't get that game anymore for arbitrary reasons. Like, we gotta do better.
Yeah, it's a shame because we lose so many games to time. So many games, racing games. We all kind of expect it at this point because of the amount of licensed cars. Like racing games have a crap. Like Forza Horizon has like probably like 80 licensed tracks or something like that. Forza Horizon 5 got a bunch of new music with the last big update. So like I understand that, but for when it comes to like big games like the DeadPool game, like it's stuff that can be sorted out. I refuse to believe that it's stuff that just can't be done. I know there was some sort of rumor that the upcoming Wolverine game by PlayStation would stop any form of backwards compatibility with those games, or like any like sort of updates for those games. I don't necessarily believe that because that game's not out. I refuse to believe that a unreleased game uh, deal can do that with across the board across multiple platforms. That just no, I don't believe that. But yeah, Deadpool video game. It's selling for exorbitant prices right now. People are going out of the way, selling the house to get this game. It's not the best game in the world. It's just a fun game. It's a fun action game. It didn't win any awards. It's just it's over the. I think that game harkens back to a time where that's literally what games were about. It was just crazy, over the top fun. It's very in your face when it comes to the breaking the fourth wall in that game. But that's what kind of makes it good. It's a good game.
It was definitely written by a 13-year-old kid.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The humor in that game is pretty much just like in your face, like fart. Like there's a fart joke in the first 20 minutes of that game, right? So yeah, it is pretty much wrote by a kid. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? This kind of broke the other day, and I think Jez Corden from Windows Central talked about this, and that is Xbox and Activision have opened up a brand new studio, a double A studio, to work on existing IP. Now, my brain instantly went to, StarCraft Ghosts. Because
As it should.
as it should, because I'm desperate for more third person shooters. I need more third person shooters because we don't get them now. We don't really get many, unless it's like an open world. Like just no, I want more linear third person shooters, and that's all I want. Basically, I want Gears of War, but with StarCraft dudes. Is that too much to ask? And it looks like we might be getting that in some form. Hell, I'll take the original StarCraft Ghosts. I mean, didn't they finish that game anyway? They just didn't release it.
It was either done or very close to the finish line. Like, I would take that, a prototype, whatever, even OG Xbox graphics, gameplay, whatever. At this point, just give us more, please.
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
think them being able to work on existing IP, Blizzard have said recently, or kind of recently, that they would be open to having single player games set in their existing universes. So we could potentially see a single player game set in the World of Warcraft universe.
A Dark Souls type game, that'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be perfect for them. But I love the fact that they have a brand new studio making these games because I'm all up for new IP. But do you know how many people beg for just new World of Warcraft games or StarCraft games? 90% of those people on Twitter are me. But like people want more of these games. Like hell, maybe even a single player Overwatch game. Like people would love that.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I think if you look at all of Blizzard and Activision's IP, there's something special that can be done there. I think people want that. We'll probably find out more over the next year or two because, again, it's a double A team. Double A games aren't going to take 4 years to make. So I think something from them will be sooner rather than later. Hell, I'd take even a single player Diablo style game, where it's strictly single player.
Ooh, that'd be
And we already do have single player Diablo style games on console, but they just aren't in the Diablo universe. But I think people would love that. Diablo's huge. I mean, take any big Blizzard IP, slap it in its own little single player game, it's gonna do well. But yeah, I think we'll hear about something in that game. I'd say in 2 years maybe. But yeah, you know what? Let's get into the big stuff now because we've been going on for a while. So, Avowed got delayed, and people lost their absolute marbles. Now, I sent Logan this image the other day of the notes, basically before every single podcast. I write a list of notes of the topics we're going to talk about. And the note I had wrote down for one of the topics was, what should Xbox do about Avowed and Indiana Jones release dates? Because again, October, November, December, September are all packed to the point where I don't know where certain games are going to release. So Avowed, I don't know when they would release that. But they came out and said, look, they're moving it to February 18th, 2025 because of the packed holiday schedule. And honestly, I completely agree with it. People could say it's because you're an Xbox fan. But look at how many games is releasing over the next several months, right? It is packed beyond belief. So if you have this brand new AAA RPG, when are you going to release that? If you look at all of the games coming out, I honestly don't think there's a good place for Avowed. Fortunately, February isn't that far away from when its original release date was planned. So it's not the end of the world. I will say that Indiana Jones, I do think they're going to make that a November release. October, already packed. November, I think, would be a safe bet. December is a weird month for video games because you basically have to launch in the first week, or you fall into the period where people are just going out shopping, buying random games for Christmas. I don't know. Like Logan, I think a lot of people are on the same page that if you have enough games for your holiday and you move one and you still got enough, that seems fine.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, even when you showed me that note, I was like thinking the same thing. I was like, I was gonna go on the show that time and say that I think they should delay it. So the fact that they delayed it is perfect to me. I think we are no longer in the era of Xbox has no games. It's Xbox needs to spread these out a little bit and to have a steady cadence. And, we talk about sometimes how there are certain companies that seem to throw games out to die, kind of, or either on their own volition or they just have terrible marketing strategy or they just don't have the foresight to realize, maybe this game wouldn't do so great in this time period with these Titan games, or we're throwing another action fantasy RPG game into this time slot with Dragon Age and then Bethesda's big expansion for Starfield, so another massive RPG experience and all this other stuff. It was packed and it needed to breathe. And honestly, like Obsidian has always I love everything I've ever played from Obsidian. They are one of my true favorite studios. Like all the way back to the Sith Lords. Like I am a huge believer in Obsidian. And the idea of giving them even more time to cook and to work on something is that should make everyone very very excited because like they had mentioned in an interview with Windows Central the other day about how, for example, that romance was something that they didn't put in because they wanted to make sure that, if they did it right. and they didn't have really time in their current slot and this and that, well, maybe a delay would allow that to happen now. Not saying it would, not a report or anything, just like, something like that. These delays can allow some fleshing out of stuff or some additional content that was on the cutting room floor to get put back in, or things tweaked and slightly refreshed. Like, I only see this as a good thing, especially for the game and the studio itself.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, nail on the head with the Dragon Age thing. Like, Dragon Age is going to be big this year. I think it's set to release late October, and having two fantasy RPGs launched too close together, like that is just a big no-no. And even I think the holiday period is still a bit too like packed for even Dragon Age. I think Dragon Age that will do fine in the end, but like even today we got a new release date for the Quiet Place game. Like that's releasing in October now. Like it's an
For
unbelievable.
Halloween, it makes sense,
Yeah,
but
I think that game's going to be fantastic. Um, but like that's just another game. You have the Jeff Keighley Games Comp thing soon. There's games that's going to be announced there that release this year. So like it's crazy. I think Avowed moving that's perfectly fine, and I was looking forward to Avowed. I think that is it's a first and third person fantasy RPG that literally screams, "Hey, made for Jamie!" Right? It's a good looking game. I will say this: the BioWare fan base, they were extremely disappointed by the romance news because the guy that does the voice for Garrus Vakarian in Mass Effect is doing one of the lead voices. I think it's for Kai in Avowed. And when people found out you can't romance them, they were upset. But I think that's kind of the BioWare fan base. They kind of I can't say the word, but they corny at the end of the day. But it
I
is
mean, let the degenerates romance the Furby girl. Come on, just let them do
yeah.
it.
We've talked about this before. I'm dreading the internet when that game comes out and people see the Furby woman. My God, like people are gonna have nightmares. Like you're not gonna be able to open up Twitter and without seeing certain things. It's like that. Like I can already see it. People are gonna be thirsting over the Furby girl. It's expected at this point. Like if anything on Twitter has like just like slightly human features, people just go nuts. It's crazy. Please chill, people. Like stop doing that. It's a Furby girl, right? Leave her alone. I'm sure the game's going to be great. Coming out in February, I think that's fine. We tend to get these big fantasy games early on the year now. Elden Ring released in February 2022. Obviously did well. This year you had Dragon's Dogma 2. Phenomenal game. My current game of the year. That game obviously did well. It's going to get future support, and I think that moving then it's not a big deal. You know what? We have a few little topics left. Oh no, let's talk about this quickly. So Destin Layofss from IGN was recently on Podcast Unlocked, and I don't watch Podcast Unlocked anymore. I think that if you're an Xbox fan, why would you watch a podcast that seemingly is against Xbox every single week?
You're a wise man, Jamie.
Thank you. Well, the thing is, like, we all love our entertainment, right? People, like, if you enjoy gaming, you want to open up social media, you want to open up YouTube and see something that is positive towards something you like. Well, I stopped listening to IGN back in 2015. They are... If you're an Xbox fan, I don't know why you'd go there. Their Nintendo podcast is, hey, look at me, I'm looking forward to Mario in the Switch 2. If you go to their PlayStation podcast, they're talking about how they want like a Bloodborne remaster or remake, which I don't know why you'd want a remake of a 10-year-old game. And what Xbox games they want to come to the platform. And then you go to their Xbox podcast and they're talking about like, hey, I don't know why they'll do any more consoles. I don't think they should come out with any more consoles. And my jaw hit the floor when I saw that clip. And I don't have anything nothing wrong against Destin IGN. I've seen his content on YouTube. Like, he seems like a cool guy. But, like, that take in particular, in a time when the gaming space is extremely volatile, I think was a hilariously bad take, because people act like 30 million consoles sold is nothing. People act like it's nothing now, and I just don't get it. 30 million consoles in 4 years, that's actually good. Xbox is selling less than the Xbox One, but not by much. However, this time, as to 4 years into the Xbox 360 generation in the US, they're selling 1 million less consoles. They're still doing well. I just think that sort of mindset is kind of dangerous. We spent a year and a half during the whole ABK, FTC, ABC situation where people were talking about monopolies.
ABC.
I mean, it'll come up at some point, but like when that whole situation was coming up, people were talking about gaming monopolies, how Xbox having Activision would threaten PlayStation out of business. And here we are a year and a half later, and people are talking about how Xbox should just maybe not do consoles next gen. Like, if you're a core gamer and you play AAA games and you prefer consoles, if Xbox went away, you'd have no other option other than to buy a PlayStation. They could charge whatever they want for video games, and that would be that. Right? There'd be no competition. And people just seemingly are okay with that, and that's kind of scary. People are okay with the monopoly if it's about PlayStation. I'm sorry to say, but that's clown behavior. Like, why are people okay with this? Like, Xbox have needed to fix many different things over the years. They needed to have more studios. They used to only have 5 studios making next to no games. They fixed the studio problem. They fixed the AAA problem where their game quality, especially off that last showcase, is very high, right? They're coming out with third-person games. Remember, they didn't really have many third-person games. They seemingly have a lot coming. The licensed games, you have Blade and that coming out. The variety, there's variety coming. It's not just first-person shooters. There's no live service games. They have Game Pass, which people love, which seems to get better every single month. And just now, when they have the best game showcase possibly ever, we're now pushing the whole, hey, maybe they shouldn't do next-gen consoles. That's just not right, man. If you're on an Xbox podcast and you're talking about Xbox, yes, Xbox should be selling better, but do you know what doesn't help Xbox sell better? It's the constant rhetoric of Xbox doomed. Xbox doom and gloom. Hey, Xbox is a failure. It's all of that content which goes against Xbox. Because if you open up YouTube right now, type Xbox, right? I guarantee you'll see some of the big gaming channels, they talk about, the downfall of Xbox. This stuff gets more clicks. Because Xbox doing something bad gets more clicks. You make more money off it. Hell, there's people, I won't name names, there's people that's moved to making PlayStation content because there's more money in it. I know this for a fact, that there's PlayStation-centric YouTube creators only start covering PlayStation because there's more money in it. And if you bash Xbox, you get more money. And all these websites, they do the same thing every single month. Xbox had a great showcase. They have a roadmap of video games. Granted, one game got delayed, yet they still have a roadmap. They had a great showcase. Game Pass is great. Hell, Call of Duty. Remember the big rumor earlier this year that people were freaking out about? That Call of Duty wouldn't come to Game Pass? Yet, this new Call of Duty game looks to be the best Call of Duty in years, and it's launched in Game Pass. Yet, we have to push the whole doom and gloom, Xbox shouldn't be doing a next-gen console thing? Really? Is that where we're at now? I don't subscribe to that way of thinking. Xbox, they still in a place where I think they have a great console. They clearly need to improve the tool set for, the MT framework thing. They need to improve Japanese game support, work out more deals, get more games coming over. They need to fix DVR functionality. They need to go back to 2 minutes of 1080p footage instead of 1. Don't know why they changed it. I think they need to reactivate the backwards compatibility program. Even get some more games up. Because remember, we have these cool features like FPS boost and resolution enhancement. we didn't get any more of those games, right? So, like, is there a reason for that?
Yeah, it's been mysteriously quiet on that front.
Yeah, and like we advertise these new consoles, like, hey, auto HDR, frames per second boost, and it's like, yes, that's amazing. But are we going to get more games that use those features? We haven't been told no, but we haven't been told yes. Their Xbox marketing isn't that good. I think that the fact that they don't have what the console does on the box is a big problem. The fact that they don't have Activision and like Call of Duty stuff plastered all over their Game Pass advertisements when it comes to Diablo and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, that's a problem. But outside of that, Xbox is in a good place. If you're a consumer, you're getting good games on good hardware. In a time where we constantly keep hearing about this PlayStation 5 Pro thing, like, nobody wants a Pro. We want more games that use optimization. Time and time again, these games have came out, and then 6 months later, we've had a 60 FPS patch. Same thing happened with Starfield, and it also happened with A Plague Tale Requiem, right? So, like, the hardware we've all got now is perfectly fine. The games, we're getting them more regularly now. Xbox first-party studios are pumping out better quality games. Pushing the whole Xbox leaving the console space thing doesn't help anyone. It only helps IGN fill their pockets with clickbait. I don't know, Logan. I've been rambling for 5 minutes, but like that seemed like a hilariously bad take.
Yeah, I vehemently disagree with that take as well. And I think Destin's a great guy. He's a really good dude. I don't always agree with his stuff, but I think of the IGN folks, he's the one that I think is the most positive Xbox voice in a veil of darkness. But um yeah, this take I definitely didn't agree with. Like, yes, they're not selling as much as you would like, or maybe as much as someone would predict, but people kind of overinflated expectations and numbers during the pandemic with hiring and stuff, which has been part of, the massive wave of layoffs. It seems like every week, like, you know, 300 people get, axed from a company and sent packing. And it just, I think console sales, are going down and more people are trying different things, but I definitely don't think it's a panic thing. And I definitely, absolutely do not think it is a we're stopping consoles or why bother making a console for next gen. Because you still have I don't even know off the top of my head, but the millions upon millions of console users dedicated who have been rocking with the brand this whole time. You've got old heads like us who've been with it since the OG Xbox. You've got some people slightly younger than us who joined in the 360. You've got the next generation who started with Xbox One, and then you've got the brand new people with the Series X and S. And it just you've got dedicated console users, and they've already said countless times in ways that they're focused and dedicated to console. Sarah Bond has gone on record several times about that. There have been reports and memos about that internally and externally, that they clearly see console as part of their plan. Whether it is the sole focus of their plan or not, it definitely doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Because, they obviously play anywhere, play on the cloud, potential mobile devices, which we'll talk about later, phones, tablets, TVs, stream sticks, whatever. So, console is it is definitely not what we grew up with, where Xbox is Xbox, the box. That's it. Like, that is Xbox. Like, Xbox is Xbox is like the force. It's all around us. It surrounds us. It binds us. It's just, Xbox is way more than just a console anymore. And but that being said, that if you took away the console, you'd be taking away the heart and soul of the whole enterprise and the fan base and everything. and people would be very, very against that. I'd bet you that even the folks who aren't primarily console users, they would be upset at the change in vision and the change in strategy and overall quality if a company quit making consoles and it solely switched to Nintendo and their, potato consoles and their anti-ROM views on things, and then PlayStation with their draconian policies and pricing, and their fan base who has big step on me energy and who's fine with whatever PlayStation does to them. So, yeah, it you want consoles to stay. Trust me. A day without consoles is not a good day.
Yeah, yeah, nail on the head there because like people, like we want competition, and as I was saying before, like people unfortunately make more money with negativity pushing because when it comes to these bad takes and like other websites do this as well, that you have Xbox fans going there to comment saying that they don't agree with them, and then you have the fanboys on the other side basically joining in to laugh, right? So they get two sets of clicks from two different fan bases over the same topic for different reasons. And like people just need excuse me, people just need to stop fueling the fire. If you see a negative story from let's say IGN, GameSpot or whatever, don't click on them. Don't give them the clicks because they that article exists to fuel flames, right? It's not doing anyone good. Xbox, they could be better. The the situation they're in now with hardware and software, they're in a good place. Again, they had their best showcase to the point where these big detractors were like, actually, that was a good show. So, like, I wouldn't listen to any of these bad takes. And no, when it comes to the hardware thing, which we'll get into now quickly, Jez Corden from Windows Central, I think it was on the Xbox 2 podcast where he brought up that the Xbox handheld has been rumored for a very long time now. And whether there's any truth to that, I kind of believe it's happening. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. Was it going to happen this gen? Is it going to be part of Xbox's plans next generation? And surprisingly, it might be both. So it turns out Xbox obviously has a next gen successor planned. Obviously, Microsoft's talked about this, but Jez from Windows Central recently talked about how the handheld is going to be its own thing. So you won't have, let's just say, the Xbox. I'm going to call it Xbox 6. I'm not changing my mind. We're going to have the Xbox 6, which will replace the Xbox Series X.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, the Xbox 6. There's already going to be memes of it. And there'll probably be like an Xbox 6S. Now I think about it, that's not a good naming convention. Just run with it. And then you have this handheld that would be its own thing. I can see that happening. These PC handhelds, they've taken off a lot over the past few months or years even, with the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Lenovo Go, and there's the streaming tablet. There's another handheld coming out by GPD Win, I think it's called. Like they coming out all the time with these brand new handhelds. There's a market for these handhelds now. So I'm perfectly like confident we will see a handheld Xbox in the foreseeable future. Logan, what's your thought on it being its own separate thing rather than alongside the next generation of consoles?
It works to me. Because you're not necessarily appealing to the same market. Like I think there will be crossover. Like I fully believe that there will people who will double dip. Like I would probably. Like if there's like an Xbox, the next gen Xbox, Series Z. Let's just call it that. Say there's a Series Z and then a Series Y or whatever, and they have those like the lower end and then the higher end, and then they have a Series P or for portable or Series M for mobile or whatever, and like it's technically like it'll play all the same stuff and do all the same stuff, but it's its own device, so it doesn't have to be tethered. Like Switch has mastered the hybrid system, and they've done an excellent job at it. There's a reason why they sell so many of those things, and the library obviously speaks for itself, but the power behind it is not that great, but it's innovative. So the idea that you would have a hybrid thing for with Series X or S or better power, you are getting into a price range that is really, really like staggering, in my opinion. So I think the idea of making it a separate console that's not hybrid makes sense. That way you can kind of price them in a competitive and reasonable method because I mean, like at some point you start getting into like flying cars territory and stuff like that to where it's like yeah, this thing will do all of this and this and this, but I mean, you'd basically have to sell one of your kidneys and put down a mortgage on your house to get it. And at that point, how many people are going to buy it? So, and Xbox is can't be arrogant enough to do the Sony we'll get two jobs to buy a PS3 method. So, I do think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think whatever they come out with in the future, it has to like capture people's imagination. I'm actually interested in see what a premium Xbox handheld would look like because like will it look like a Switch? Will it look more like a Steam Deck? Honestly, I think when it comes to portability, I don't really think people care whether it can fit in your pocket. Right? Nobody's walking around with a Steam Deck in their pocket. Hell, even the regular Switch isn't going to fit in most people's pockets. So like, it's probably going to be a big device. I just want to see what it looks like. Will you be able to stream your PC games to it or play your PC games to it natively? We don't know. I think it's going to be a very The next few years is going to be interesting for hardware because Xbox they clearly don't want to do a mid-gen refresh. Personally, I don't think anyone needs to do a mid-gen refresh. Seemingly both companies want to do some sort of handheld. So like, I think if you're a fan of handhelds and you've been wanting an Xbox handheld, it's probably coming. It's probably coming. Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
No, just looking forward to Gamescom and opening night live, see what they show off. Hopefully, we get that, Legacy of Kain collection that was, cat's out of the bag at this point, and hopefully some other stuff that are big surprises and revivals. And please, 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 more BC and StarCraft Ghost. That is my closing message.
Yes, so we will be seeing more Xbox stuff during the Gamescom because they're going to be showing stuff every single day of Gamescom from the 20th of August. So it's going to be an interesting week. Also, opening night live, like you said, there's going to be stuff announced there. I'm sure people will like. There's also games that's going to be announced there that, as far as I know, do release this year. That are going to be announced this year. So it's going to be an interesting time. But anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing once again. I think that this is one of the best chats on the internet. There's not really much arguing. Everyone's super chill, and we like to keep it chill over here. Too many people online at the minute just argue over nonsense that doesn't even matter. People need to. I think more people need to have fun with video games, and too many people take it too seriously, and act like it's the end all and be all, and people trying to profit off negativity when it's really unnecessary. Anyway, we're back for a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast next week. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. The link to my last video is in the description down below. 10 biggest games coming to Xbox Series X and S for August. 9 of those games are yet to release, and there's some games there I think might surprise people. Our links for our social media stuff will be in the description down below. Logan's Twitter, my Twitter. Anyway, hope everyone has a good day. We're out, everybody. Peace.